from WBNE.
Howdy, yokes. Before we get started today, we want to let you know that this episode of Bacon and Eggs is brought to you by our patrons. If you love this show and you want to support it, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/baconandeggs and sign up for one of the fantastic reward tiers we have over there. Patreon is an awesome voluntary service where you can donate to your favorite creators and help them continue to create the thing that they love. And we use Patreon to make this show the best that it can be. We would love to see you support us there, and there's some amazing rewards. So head on over there and check out what we have to offer. Again, that's patreon.com/baconandeggs. Howdy, yokes, and welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. I'm Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
And today we're going on an adventure.
Or maybe we're just having a few people over for dinner.
So chip the glasses and crack the plates.
And steal the One Ring.
Because today we're bringing you
The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
The ring wasn't stolen. He just found it.
Ask Gollum. Ask literally.
Well, in the first edition, I need to find the first edition or something and read what was originally written, because Tolkien retconned himself in later publications of The Hobbit.
Wow.
Sure, but we're talking about the movie.
We're talking about the movie.
Anyway, the movie, but he still didn't steal it. It clearly dropped on the floor, and he took it.
And then Gollum was like, "Hey, that's
Finders
mine," and he was
keepers.
like, "No, it's not."
Finders
No, it's
keepers.
not. Time. It's time. The answer's time.
This movie was directed by Peter Jackson, released December 14th, 2012, which is 3,154 days ago. It had somewhere between a $200 million and $350 million budget and made $1.017 billion at the box office. Got a 64% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes, an 83% audience rating, and a 58 on Metacritic. Tyler, before we get into this lovely, lovely, lovely movie, do you have a positive critical review for me?
I bet you read me a negative critical review, Ethan.
I've got a negative review here from Jay Hoberman of the New York Review of Books, who says, there is a good deal to be said about Peter Jackson's long-awaited and exceedingly long adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. Most of it is bad.
Yikes. Yikes. I
Let me
keep
find
forgetting
you
y'all do video. I keep having to remind myself.
Let me find you a positive review.
I got one here for a negative review here for Peter Rayner, the Christian Science Monitor. Peter Rayner, a friend of ours here on the show, who says, my first thought in watching The Hobbit was, do we really need this movie? It was my last thought, too.
All right, Mike
Did he die shortly after that?
No, Peter Rayner's still with us. Mike Massey from Gone with the Twins, acclaimed literature and art, avant-garde art blog, it sounds like, gives this a 9 out of 10. When it comes to the fantasy genre, it really doesn't get more epic than this. On my birthday, 2020, December 1st, a 9 out of 10, Mike Massey from Gone with the Twins.
Oh, I got a great one here from Richard Propes of the independentcritic.com, who says, this is a film for true Tolkien connoisseurs. 2 out of 4. Oh my God. Do you have a list review, Tyler?
We're joined this week. Hold on, real quick. We're joined this week by none other than Tolkien expert, comedian, best friend of the show.
None of those things are true.
First WNA podcast creator, Mary Clay
One
Watt.
of those things is true. You decide.
We're playing Two Truths and a Lie here.
Well, TikTok sensation.
The TikTok sensation that's talking the nation.
My growth on TikTok came to a stunning halt approximately, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. I don't know what it is. I just don't get followers anymore. I've stayed at the same amount of followers now. That's it.
I don't know what the
peaked.
number was, but you hit 16.2 or something, and I was like, it was 16.2,000, and I was like, this is unacceptable. I must have a larger TikTok. And I made it my mission for 3 weeks to be I will pass Mary Clay on TikTok. And then I have nary posted since then. I have posted.
I was going to say, let me see. Yeah, what's your follower?
I have 524.
Well done, Ethan.
Total.
Ty Carlin,
18,200 likes.
Oh, wow. So you literally got to exactly right past like where you wanted to pass me, and then you just stopped because you have 16.5. And you decided, you were like, okay, that's done. Hey, you do edit Sam Jones. We were just talking about
One time I posted a comment on a
playing.
video about Bo Burnham and John Mulaney, and 22,000 people saw the need to like it.
I have things that I've commented like over a year ago that still get.
I get likes on that every hour.
Oh my God.
To this day, and it was 2 months ago.
This is my theory regarding comments that blow up on TikTok. I actually think it's fake. I do not believe that people like comments on TikTok.
I have a positive review. I have a positive listener review here from Irina Rodriguez in the Discord who says, 100 out of 100. I love all things Lord of the Rings. They just bring happiness into my life.
Yeah, and I replied, and I was like, you are a severely optimistic person, and that's beautiful. And
I've got
that this brings you that much joy.
I've got a negative review here from Claire, the Claire of New York. 60 out of 100. They did their best. Still not good.
Yeah, fair. Mary Clay, 0 out of 100 for The Hobbit, an unexpected journey.
So here's the problem, is that I've been watching this movie a lot over the last week, and these movies' rewatch value is not great. So I'm trying not to let the fact that I've seen a lot of this movie recently play into that. I'll go with a 75. Which I think is going to be the highest I will rate these movies. I think anyone's ratings of these movies will be the highest for the first one. Yeah, I'll go with a 75 because it's a movie. I watched it.
I have seen it.
I was about to say, like, oh, it's a delightful movie. It's delightful in some parts. And then I was about to be like, and I liked it. I liked it in some parts. But I'll give it a 75 in that, like, it's a decent movie. It's a decent story. I think had you watched it without reading The Hobbit beforehand and or even knowing that like, hey, this is based on a book that's supposed to be 200 pages. I think you would, the way that it ends is satisfying enough of an ending that like, yeah, that feels like a complete ending of a story while also setting up the next one. Whereas I can't necessarily say the same thing about how Desolation of Smaug ends. So yeah, it's okay. The end.
Tyler, 0 out of 100 for The Hobbit, an unexpected
goes
journey.
at a 75. That was actually my gut answer, but I'm not going to go with my gut because they say you should never go with your gut. You should go with cold, hard mathematics.
They do say that.
They don't.
This is in regards to a calculus final, the AP calculus exam, which I would say this movie is equivalent to.
I would rather take a calculus exam than rewatch this, honestly.
Wow.
That's rough.
Wow. The derivative.
It would certainly, hey, guys, I've never taken calculus. It would certainly take me less time.
That's the
true.
Damn
Truth.
And I'd come out with about as many right answers, honestly.
72.
Okay. Did you just say 72 because you didn't want to be the same answer as me?
No, I didn't. When you said 75, I was like, I got to think about my answer now. But it's not that I didn't want to be the same answer as you. It's that I wanted 72. And Ethan, you said 59?
59. This movie sucks.
Disagree.
I could not finish this movie. Like,
well, I hope you finished it.
I did finish it. But normally what I try to do before I come on the show, if at all possible, is sit down around like 5 o'clock and watch the movie we're about to watch all the way through. That was impossible with this movie. We watched the first 45 minutes for your podcast that came out today.
Yeah, listeners, if you're listening to this, go listen to that. That came out this past Tuesday.
And I was like, you know what, Ethan, this is your favorite part of that movie. Just rewatch that. And then it got into the beginning, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And so I fast forwarded 45 minutes in and opened TikTok. Legitimately, I couldn't stop looking at my phone. I couldn't stop getting up and doing other things. This movie sucks.
I just so disagree. I
don't think it sucks. We will get there in 2 weeks, but I still think it was a decent movie. I think there have been far worse movies created and far harder movies to sit through and watch the complete. I have been far more entertained by worse movies.
I will say this. I've been far more entertained by worse movies, but this is where I'll come in and say this movie has something that others don't. Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins is a fantastic casting, fantastic character, well written by Tolkien, well written by Peter Jackson. And Sir Ian McKellen as Gandalf is fantastic casting, fantastic character. I understand the scripts are not good. The set pieces are not good, but you still have these fantastic actors playing these fantastic characters, and you're taking what was I think what Peter Jackson ran into was I need to raise the stakes of The Hobbit to make it like Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. And that's a clear shortcoming of these films, but you cannot escape the moments where Peter Jackson was like, but The Hobbit is pretty silly, and those silly moments I really think do land well.
Yeah, I agree.
As long as you allow them to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the silly moments. If the whole movie was silly moments, it would have been great.
I think it would have been better. Yeah, watching it tonight, I am watching the climactic battle scene, and I'm thinking does this compare at all to the climactic battle scene in Fellowship of the Ring where Boromir is a human target practice? No, not really. And does it compare to Merry and Pippin getting everyone getting taken off and Frodo and Sam going off on their own little journey by themselves as definitely friends and no romantic interests at all between
lovers.
them, not a single. And no, it does it doesn't compare. It doesn't carry that same weight and gravitas. And Peter Jackson, I think, tried his darndest to get it to be like that, and just with the source material being like it was, you just can't do that.
Well, and I think you've got a real Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs situation here, where you have
more like 13.
Right, but you have 13 pretty 12, I guess, pretty one-dimensional characters, and then Thorin Oakenshield and Bilbo and Gandalf. So you have 3 Snow Whites. And then just so much weight into these little one-dimensional characters that, I don't dislike when they're making little comments and doing little cracking jokes and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, we're having fun. But, yeah, it's definitely not the same as, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs certainly does not compare to Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which is honestly what we're comparing this to every step of the way.
The problem is just that Tolkien wrote the story to have 13 dwarves. The fact that there are so many dwarves is what makes it silly and funny, because it's oh my god, there's so many of them, it's hard to keep track of, and that's the bit, and you can't have that be a bit for 3 2.5-hour movies, and so when you put them on screen, it's oh no, we have to, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, we actually have to deal with this now.
Right. And how are you going to pay, how are you going to get 13 people to be yeah, I'll play a main character who has a line? I think if your agent came to you and was hey, we have a role for you, it's the Hobbit trilogy directed by Peter Jackson, you'd be hell yeah, sign me up. I will gladly come on board. Unless you're Viggo Mortensen.
Because he had no business being in the trilogy, and he knew that. Oh wait, have you guys, wait, no, I'm gonna shut up.
So here's what I was.
Don't worry about it. We'll come back to this in 2 weeks.
Here's what I was going to propose. We were talking about Martin Freeman being the shining point of every time that Martin Freeman does or says anything in this movie is just a shining point of the movie. I was going to vote that we were in our Bacon and Eggs metric, we replace the Rotten Tomatoes audience score with the percentage of the movie for which Bilbo Baggins is on screen.
Problem is Rotten Tomatoes audience score is currently being replaced by Mary Clay Watt.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, we can replace Metacritic.
Ha. It's okay. You can replace my
Anyway,
score
Bilbo's
with
in this movie,
the
shockingly, for
percentage.
73% of the movie.
He is the main character.
So I
He
think
is
that
the Hobbit.
I think that my
He is the Hobbit in question.
I think that my 59 out of 73 tracks extremely hard. I liked 59 of the 73% that Bilbo was in this movie.
I like the Thorn Oak and Shield thing. I like that narrative. I love dwarves. I love hobbits as characters. I love the concept of them. I love what Tolkien created there. I always have. People know this about me. I don't know why. I cheer for the little guy, you know?
Literally the little guy.
Literal-
loves short fictional character. Like
the small character.
like the half-sized.
Even if I have to deal with
characters.
like the bad guys, like if I'm like, this is a true story. If I'm like a dungeon master and I'm writing a D&D like homebrew campaign, they're not just like normal sized pirates. They're goblin pirates who are like 2 feet tall. Cause hey, we're goblin pirates. Hey.
Hey, don't
What
rip off
if-
my goblin voice.
What if the troll? No, but what if the trolls spoke like that in this movie over the goblins?
That's actually, I do want to make a point. I really like the voices for a lot of the bad guys here. Where like
I did
the
too.
The big bad orc guy, not the white orc, but the other
Well,
one
it
with
depends.
the.
Who are you talking about? So I was thinking about that watching it today. The large, I think they're supposed to be goblins.
The Goblin King. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
the Goblin King.
I
I
liked him.
love his.
I
voice.
believe in the book that is supposed to be Azog or Azog,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
and he dies in that, like in the subsequent battle that happens, like in the forest or in the tunnels. He dies,
yeah.
and his son goes on to like fight Thorin and everyone in the Battle of Five Armies in the book. But like it
Sure.
did, like today, just watching it now, I'm like, wait a minute, this like this large comical goblin who is not what's the Pixar dude whose name is John
Ratzenberger.
Yes, it sounds like the voice actor for the Goblin King sounds like him if he was English.
But yeah, and instead they made Azog a different character because they needed a big final
Which I
battle
d-
at the end of this movie.
And it would have been
No, I don't think it would have. Honestly, I think this movie
No,
would
I
have
think it would
worked.
have been fine.
I think it would have been worse if the end of this movie was, and they got attacked by wards.
Sorry, not the-
again
That is
for
the end
a
of this
second
movie.
time. And you know what? You know what happens at the end of this movie, guys? You know what happens at the end of this movie? The Eagles save them.
Boy, I can't. You're gonna. Okay, but you know that happens. Tolkien wrote. Our man Jert wrote The Eagles Saving the Day, not once, not twice,
Thrice.
times, 4
Thrice
if you
to the
count
Eagles.
them saving Gandalf when he was captured by Saruman. He wrote, so when everyone makes fun, which like I didn't fully like understand or appreciate the joke of everyone being like, well, the largest plot hole in the Lord of the Rings series is why couldn't the Eagles take them? I didn't fully appreciate like kind of the inside jokingness of that until I finished The Hobbit, where I'm like, you mean to tell me the Eagles come into this book, this 200-page book, not once, but twice?
I actually I would briefly like to touch on book length. I came here prepared to riot over the fact that this was split into 3 movies. And I'll tell you this, I really was. Because so much stuff happens in the first of 3 movies, that I was like, surely that has to be 75% of the book, right? Because like from the time that they meet Smaug to the end of the book is nothing, right? It's 30 pages. The Battle of Five Armies is a page. You know, like, but I have shocking news to bring you.
Yeah, it's chapter 4.
The end of this book occurs on page 104 of 276.
You mean the end of this movie?
Yeah, the end of this movie comes on page 104.
What is
of
that? No, that's not chapter 4.
276.
That's chapter 5.
Chapter 6.
Oh man, I was close. Whatever.
Chapter 6. It happens on page 104, 276.
Out of the frying pan
That's
and
right
into the
around
fire.
a third.
Yeah, they.
Turns out.
So have you guys seen the other 2 yet?
I have never seen the third one.
I've never seen
And I haven't
the third
seen
one.
the second one in
So
an
what's
age,
so
a
funny,
dog's age.
I had our wonderful friend Casey Winters on for a chapter discussion, and he said he's never seen the third one, and I was like really surprised by that. I was like, really, Casey? Like, you haven't seen all of the movies, and like, how do you go see the first two and not see the third one? But having seen the third one, I get it.
Yeah, Casey simply just
It's
does not
not worth it.
He does not put himself in the position to be disappointed by things.
Yeah,
He just won't do it.
I get it.
Here's my thing. How bad can it possibly be?
That's what so okay, I keep needing, then again, this is not my podcast. This is your podcast. So I can say whatever even though I can say
It's
whatever
true.
I want on my podcast too.
Before you launch into this tirade, because I'm not going to stop you once you start. I do want to say one thing for the listeners here. Listeners, we're recording this on Tuesday, the 3rd of August. Okay, this will come out on Thursday, the 5th of August. If you're going to watch a movie with your time here in the next couple days, just go see Jungle Cruise. It's better than this.
And I asked you guys last week. I was like, "Are you really not going to cover Jungle Cruise?"
Hey, you know what? It turns out Jungle Cruise. I mean, look, Jungle Cruise.
It seems right up y'all's alley.
Jungle Cruise is a bad movie, right? But it is extremely entertaining. It's my second favorite based on a Disney theme park ride. Behind Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, above Haunted Mansion.
I should have said there was this TikTok of a girl, and it's like POV. You're at a party with a girl who. Can you hear
Only
those?
talks about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Stupid. No, specifically Dead Man's Chest. It was like POV, you're at a party with a girl whose favorite movie is Dead Man's Chest. And it's just all these different shots of her being like, so it's called the Dead Man's Chest because his heart, it's like a treasure chest, but his living heart is inside. And then she's like, it's like Romeo and Juliet meets, I don't know, some other movie. And it's a full minute. And I'm just like, I would vibe with this girl so hard at a party. She gets it because Dead Man's Chest
is the worst of the three.
Is the best of the three.
The worst of the three.
It's my favorite.
Best of the five.
And we've talked about this
I
before,
haven't
so
seen
we won't
4
get
or
into
5,
it.
so,
but I wanna caveat the start of this episode and the next 2 weeks with. I gave Tyler and Ethan many opportunities to not have to cover The Hobbit on this podcast. And they're like really sick of me bringing this up, but I'm bringing it up because like I genuinely feel bad about the fact that this terrible trilogy is taking up 3 weeks worth of your podcast when you could be covering Jungle Cruise.
I bet you anything. We can still cover Jungle Cruise, right? It's on Disney Plus. I think it's fine.
I think.
Look, I don't foresee a future in which I do not like Desolation of Smaug better than this. For this specific reason, they did my boy Gandalf dirty in this movie. Okay,
hang on.
Gandalf in the first 100 pages of The Hobbit, the book, is a fucking monster. Okay, Gandalf comes in and it's just like goblins. What goblins? No. Smite with lightning, and instead he's like, I'm gonna shine a bright light at you, and the Goblin King is gonna be like, heard it, I'm the Goblin King, you guys don't want to die by any chance, do you? They took my boy Gandalf, and for the second time in his career, threw his entire character off a fucking cliff.
Hang on, we gotta rewind.
Dirty.
Walk me close. So you're mad because Gandalf comes in with a giant flash of light, which, again, we know nothing about his magic and what he can do, and like why is that? Whatever. Why can he emit this like immense beam of light? But then
because he's
the next
monster.
Scene, no, but in the next scene he has to like blow little sparks on his staff just to get the pine cone to light on fire rather than just like lighting a fire. Like, why does that not work?
Fuel.
Anyway,
yes, so it's not Harry Potter. It's not an endless power source.
Walk me back here, Ethan. So you're upset because Gandalf came in with a giant beam of light when they were in Goblin Town, and like it was like whoosh. And that's what how does that do him? I'm confused.
Because in the book, he just smites them.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I think that would have been too violent.
Yeah, and they needed banter, right? They needed 30 minutes of goblin fighting and banter.
Yeah, I know.
And in the book, it's just like, oh, and the door of the cave opens, and the goblins are dust. Gandalf Thanos them out of the park. They did my guy Gandalf dirty in this movie. They made Ian McKellen say some dumb shit in this movie.
I love that they made him say some dumb stuff in this movie.
What dumb stuff does he say?
I don't know. The whole second half of Gandalf in the whole second half of this movie, I couldn't deal with. There's no way I do not, because they're gonna. I know they're gonna add a bunch of crap to Smaug because he's in the book for 30 seconds. You know, the whole Smaug thing happens in 4 pages.
I'm aware. No, I'm aware.
And like he is introduced on page 225 of 276. So and anytime Benedict Cumberbatch does anything, it's fantastic. So I know I'm gonna like Desolation of Smaug more.
Do you know that the Necromancer is also voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch?
Is he?
Yeah.
This is what I know about the Necromancer. That's Sauron.
Yes, it's also definitely Slender Man. Like it's. It's Slender Man.
I could have lived without Radagast the
so
Brown
here's
entirely.
The thing, and this will be a big moment for y'all especially. So, hate Radagast the Brown. Absolutely and
Give me Usador the Blue.
Hate it. They don't have rights to that.
Wizard of the 12th realm of Ephesius.
If Tolkien was alive to listen to Hello from the
Master
Magic
of Light
Tavern,
and Shadow.
I think he would love it. I think he would think it's the funniest thing in the world.
The elves know me as Fiang Yalak.
So Radagast, he comes in.
The dwarves know me as Zonin
completely
Mustanges.
dismantles the entire plot, and
I am known in the north as Gasmoenius Maystar.
And meanwhile makes us care about this random hedgehog. Like, for some reason, we care immensely about the livelihood of this random hedgehog in the forest. Anyway.
Well, and it's the weirdest cut to a flashback ever, right? Because Gandalf is just like, I think Radagast is a great, or not a flashback,
well, no,
like
it's
a side
not a
cut.
flash. Yeah, I was going to say,
A side cut, but whatever. It's like...
It's very forced.
He's like, Radagast was a great wizard. What are you talking about? And then we smash cut to Radagast being like, what happened to my dear little hedgehog?
Well, I think that's the joke that Bill... I love the way that Bilbo phrases that too.
Bombadil, but we can give you this guy.
He goes, I'll come back to that in a second. Yeah, Bilbo goes, is Radagast a great wizard or is he more like you? Yeah. And I think that's so
sick
funny. Well, and that's the thing is that he didn't mean for it to be a sick burn because in his mind, Gandalf is just this like, your friendly neighborhood wizard who comes to make your life a nightmare and do fireworks.
Yeah.
And so
Gandalf
Gandalf is clearly trying to be like a mom, complimenting her kid who like is not good at soccer or something. And it's like, well, you went out there and tried your best. I thought you did great, sweetie.
What is it that Gandalf says to Theoden? Like, do you mistake me for some mundane conjurer of cheap tricks or whatever?
Maybe that's exactly
what Bilbo thinks Gandalf is, though. Yeah.
So yeah, we cut to Radagast, and it's like it could have just been like 1 or 2 minutes of showing like another wizard.
15 minutes.
It's very long. So this is where it's a big revelation. If this is what Tom Bombadil would have been like in Fellowship of the Ring, then I take back what I say about Tom Bombadil.
So let me get this straight. I read The Hobbit earlier this year. I don't remember Radagast.
He's not in it.
He's not in it.
He's not in it.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Tyler, this book is 276 of God's pages.
A lot of these movies is not in The Hobbit, which is how I wonder where the heck did they pull all of these random side plots about like the Witch King ghost coming back to life. And
so hold on.
Where did they pull that from? Or did they just completely make it up?
From you, the Tolkien scholar, I was under the impression that like layperson like me and Ethan would be like, I've read The Hobbit. I think this is more or less accurate. I'm a little fuzzy on the details. Ethan, you read it 3 days ago. It doesn't count. Okay,
yeah, I was going to say, if I'd read The Hobbit 6 months ago, I think I would have thought this movie was rad. I read The Hobbit last Monday, and it sucks. 2 Mondays ago.
And then Mary Clay, you'd be more advanced and you'd be like, I very in detail read The Hobbit very recently, and this is not at all in the books. But then there's another level. There is like neckbeard Tolkien scholar who's like, I actually have read every word Jolkien, Tolkien ever wrote. And
I read The Lives of the
movie,
Frost Children or whatever it's called.
The Hobbit movie is 100% accurate to everything that was happening parallel to this novel. So
Probably.
brava.
I guarantee that probably. Actually, someone on the Tolkien About Facebook group commented something similar to that. Let me pull that up.
While you're doing that, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back.
I'm going to take a big, quick, get me a Truly break.
Can you get me one?
Mary Clay, read poetry to them.
I've never been left alone. I'm alone with my thoughts. Oh, this isn't good. Okay. Hi, listeners. Oh, let's talk about the big news in the Lord of the Rings community, which happened earlier this week, which is that we have a date for the Lord of the Rings Amazon Prime series. It will premiere on September 2nd. 2022. That's right, everyone. We have another year and a month before this dumb series comes out. And that's right. I'm calling it dumb. I'm already predicting it's going to be an immense failure and it's going to be terrible. And they also dropped a single still image that everyone in the Tolkien fandom was immediately jumping upon the second it was posted to be like, well, the trees in the background mean that they're in the land of Flindorian, and obviously the figure in the foreground is Bear Luthien. And I don't know any of those details, and I don't understand where any of those details came from, and I don't frankly care. I just want to watch. I just want to go in as blind as possible.
Sorry about that.
Cool. I was just telling the folks about the yolks about the series. Okay. I'll wait for Tyler to come back before I read
Citrus
it.
punch or berry punch?
Whoop. Citrus.
Fair.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thanks.
Cough bless you. Thanks for coming on talking to us.
Are you talking to me? Hi.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could have covered them without me. I think it would have been weird.
Yeah, it would have been weird.
I think people would have been like,
especially if we did it this week.
What happened to the original plot
of the movie?
Actually, that's exactly that's how I would summarize this trilogy.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait for 2 weeks from now.
When we cover the Battle of the Five Armies that I've never seen before.
It's like I genuinely no. Okay. See, this is my problem is that I started this being like, I'm not going to go, even if they're terrible, I'm not going to go really harsh negative on it because no one's going to want to listen to several episodes worth of like just complaining about a movie in detail. So I keep having to remind myself and be like, and be like, you need to buck up and like stop complaining so much and start talking about Martin Freeman instead. Maybe that's just what I need to do. Whenever I feel myself going too negative, I'll just be like, so Martin Freeman in this scene, isn't he amazing?
Yeah, just put on your Apple Watch and every time it tells you to breathe, talk about Martin Freeman.
I don't have an Apple Watch.
Oh, that sucks.
It comes with Disney Plus.
I really don't need an Apple Watch.
I have a Fitbit Versa 2.
Especially because I don't
And
walk.
look at
I don't
this.
have any circles I need to close or anything like that. What am I looking at? It's just a blue band.
Yeah, your camera's not doing it. So say Olivia and Finn.
Yeah.
Dad.
And then
Oh,
it says Dad
that's
underneath
cute.
That was my Father's Day present.
Nice.
Okay, yes. So there was someone in the Tolkien About Facebook group who commented on a post today and says they say that they love all three of the movies. The more they could pack in, the better, especially if it came from other lore like Unfinished Tales and the Lord of the Rings appendices. There's little there that didn't come from Tolkien's pen. Okay, so I guess that answers my earlier question of like where, especially the scene where freaking they're like, it's a family reunion of all of the magical characters that you're familiar with, where it's like, Galadriel, what are you doing here? Saruman, what are you doing here? And then they sit down and they talk about the Necromancer, and then in another scene, Galadriel's like, for some reason, we don't want you to go with these dwarves on this quest because for some reason it's related to the Morgul blade. I don't know why those two, I don't understand that. Anyway, but I was wondering during that scene especially, like, where did they come up with this? So supposedly it's from the Unfinished Tales and the appendices. Because I know that they didn't have rights to the Silmarillion at the time. And that's why when Bilbo asks about the other wizards, Gandalf says, I can't remember the names of the blue wizards because they didn't have rights to those names.
It's Usador for both of them.
I do know. So, like, I also think if you're Peter Jackson, right, you're like, hey, Cate Blanchett and, oh gosh.
Christopher Lee.
Sir Christopher Lee, do you want to come be in Lord of the Rings again? I think Cate Blanchett is like, yes, obviously, cash that check. I am surprised Christopher Lee signed on for this because he's a Tolkien scholar.
But that's the thing though, is if it's from the appendices, I'm sure Christopher Lee was like, when he heard that Peter Jackson was making The Hobbit, he was like, now Peter, let me tell you, you need to include this
bust
scene.
Out them appendices.
Well,
need to bust out those appendices and talk about that.
Well, he actually had been very mad at Peter Jackson because they cut out so much of Saruman's storyline from Return of the King theatrical. It didn't make the final. Yeah, if you watch Return of the King theatrical edition, Saruman does not make the final cut at all.
Yeah, he's not in the movie.
As a Tolkien, like, diehard fan, basically, I don't know if he was necessarily a scholar, but he definitely was very familiar with Tolkien and everything. He had actually met Tolkien. He was one of the only, I think he was the only person of these films to ever meet J.R.R. Tolkien. Anyway, he was very angry with Peter Jackson that he had been cut out of the final cut of Return of the King, and he brought it up at the Hobbit premiere. He was like, so did you cut me out of this one too? And Peter Jackson was like,
yeah, maybe we should have made you Gandalf.
Just walked away. So, what were we saying?
But he is.
Oh yeah, I don't know how he felt when he was asked to do this role again. If he was like, I mean, I guess
when Hugo Weaving showed up, because I know he can be very weird about. I don't know why.
Elrond is in the book, though.
I know he's
literally
in the book.
of those characters. Elrond is the one that's actually in the book.
But Hugo Weaving as an actor is known to be like very, mostly because of Captain America, but he's like very annoyed by prosthetics. Very like, I want to be Hugo Weaving, despite the fact that he ends up in all of these like fantasy and sci-fi.
He just
roles.
wore a wig, though. Wait, was he in Captain America? What?
He's the Red Skull.
Well, how was I supposed to know that?
Because it's
He doesn't
completely
look like
obvious.
Himself.
Yes, he does.
He has a red face
The
on
whole
his
time he's
face.
just like Mr. and Frodo. I mean Steve.
Steve Rogers.
What's his name? Hugo Weaving.
Hugo
Weaving.
He's also just his appearance. I still like to this day. I remember being kind of startled by his appearance. His first appearance as Elrond, because it's just not how I pictured Elrond.
I do picture Elrond much prettier than Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
I pictured Elrond a lot more like Teluriel or whatever his name is.
I'll never forget my first time watching Return of the King when Elrond goes to meet Aragorn and give him the sword. They do this dramatic reveal where like he has a hood up and his back is turned, and they're like, "There's someone here to see you." and I thought it was going to be Arwen, and then
Psych, it's her dad.
And it's Hugo Weaving.
What if it was just like Hugo Weaving the actor all of a sudden?
It's just not even Elrond, yeah.
What if it was Morpheus?
No, but Elrond has the ears, and I think that was kind of why I was a little bit surprised. All I know is I've seen a lot of interviews with Hugo Weaving where he's like, I love doing the Matrix movies, but man, that Captain America movie sucked. Christopher Eccleston, who's not in this, is the same way, where he like ends up in all these sci-fi and fantasy roles, but he does not like to do prosthetics. And I bring him up because Sylvester McCoy was also the Doctor, and he was Radagast.
John Rhys Davies was considered. They were at one point thinking about bringing him in for a cameo of some sort, but he was like, I don't want to ever wear those prosthetics again because he had such severe reactions, like allergic reactions to them. And he's like, nope, have fun.
Enjoy.
I just don't understand. I'm like, and he was great as Gimli. Don't get me wrong, but why do they have to pick this giant dude to play Gimli? He's like 6'3".
It's
like
got
a
to
large
be easier
man.
to.
It's because it makes the proportions in post easier to do because they just do they do one scene with John Rhys Davies and the Hobbits, and he looks normal next to the Hobbits, and then they shrink them all down to be next to the humans, rather than having to shrink down the Hobbits and John Rhys Davies and put them into the scene with the humans.
But
You mean like they did for these
Elijah-
movies, where they
Yes,
just
like they
CGI'd
did.
everything, despite the fact that 14 of the people are short.
Yeah.
Well, Elijah and like Dominic and all of them are short people, though, right? Like they're not. None of them is over.
They're not
like 5'8".
I don't think they're necessarily short, but they are small. So if you were to just have them stand next to John Rhys Davies, like them, the actors, stand next to John Rhys Davies with with a blank wall behind them and nothing else in the picture to show like sizing or anything, I think you would look at them and be like, oh yeah, that looks like hobbits and a dwarf.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
the
John Rhys
Hobbits.
Davies is 6'1". Elijah Wood is 5'6".
So the being a Hobbit in the Lord of the Rings movies has ruined Sean Astin for me forever. Every time I see Sean Astin being like normal sized, I'm like, there's something wrong with that. I can watch Dominic Monaghan in Lost. I can watch Elijah Wood in Wilfred. I can't watch Sean Astin in Stranger Things. I'm like, you're supposed to be short, man. There's no way Winona Ryder's not taller than you. No way.
I could watch Stranger Things all the live long day.
Well, that's not what I said at all.
No, but Sean Astin is in Stranger Things.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't he
but I'm not saying I couldn't watch
he's the
Stranger
thing.
Things. I'm just saying, like, it's.
I need you to
I saw
say
a tweet that was
specifically.
like, I just found out that what's his face from Stranger Things is the same character from 50 First Dates.
Yeah.
And people were like, excuse me, Sean Astin did not carry Frodo up Mount Doom to destroy the ring for you to recognize him as the random side character in 50 First Dates.
To be fair, that post also went around a bunch about the Goonies, and that one I cannot live with.
That too,
He is
yeah.
Bob Newby before he will ever
Man.
be Mikey from the Goonies.
I always forget that he was in the Goonies.
Goonies
Sean
is a
Astin has had a
bonkers
great
cast.
career.
Well, he was in
he
the
has.
Goonies, so it really went uphill after
No,
that.
but like a lot of child actors, I don't think any of the other kid
Yeah, Corey
actors
Feldman's
from
not
the
doing
Goonies,
so hot. He was in the Goonies.
have went on to be in one other
The guy from
successful movie, let
Kangaroo
alone
Jack, he's doing
several.
I'm
great.
sorry. Hold on. Let me just be very clear with all of you very quickly. Josh Brolin, Thanos himself, and Cable is a Goonies kid.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin was in the
Yeah, he's like the
Goonies?
main character.
Yeah.
No, what's his face as the main character? Sean Astin is.
People would disagree with you on that one.
So the top
Mikey
cast,
is the main character. He's the
built-
reason
it's
they go
built-
on the treasure hunt.
and Sam is the main character of the Lord of the Rings.
No, you're. Hang on. Who do you think the main character of the Goonies is?
I've seen the Goonies once. Yeah.
But anyway, top build is Sean Astin. and Josh
Mikey is
Brolin.
the main
Okay,
character.
I'm done talking about the Goonies. We're moving on.
He's the one who has
I'm sorry
the
I brought it up.
inhaler.
We're moving on. This movie
And
sucks.
he has the like beautiful, heartfelt
Oh
scene
my
with
God,
One-Eyed
stop
Willie.
talking about the Goonies. That movie's horrible. I don't ever want to talk about it again. I would rather watch The Hobbit, A Cold and
You would
Unexpected
rather
Journey
talk about another
100
horrible
times in a
movie?
row. I'd rather watch this 100 times in a row than The Goonies.
I'll say this.
I would rather fall on my face and my nuts at the same time than watch The Goonies.
I'll say this about the Goonies. This is the last thing I'll say. It did have great posters. It had fantastic posters.
Who did Josh Brolin play?
I would rather have Dwayne The Rock Johnson from Jungle Cruise punch me in the face.
Literally, even Wikipedia says the asthmatic leader of the Goonies.
I would rather have Dwayne
For
The Rock
Mikey.
Johnson from Jungle Cruise punch me in the face than watch The Goonies.
Okay. Can I punch you in the face?
No. But I guarantee
One
it would
more
hurt
time?
less than Dwayne The Rock Johnson
Does
punching
that
me
mean
in the
I'm
face.
stronger than Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
No.
That's what I'm hearing.
No, it just means
Anyway.
that there's not as much of a story behind Tyler punches me in the face as Dwayne The Rock Johnson punches me in the face so I don't have to watch The Goonies.
Hey, you know what they say? Goonies never say die.
I say die please Goonies.
The movie that you want to talk about, like, you know how people always are like, what's that movie or scene that was like irrationally scary for you as a kid? That's the Goonies
Yes.
beginning to end. I was mortified of that movie.
Well, to be fair, there's a disfigured, but he turns out to be a nice person.
No, like the scene where the kid pulls his shirt up and is like, that scared me and gave me
The
nightmares.
truffle shuffle.
Yeah, that's
Ethan's
what
going to
gave me
cut all of this
nightmares.
out in post.
Yeah, stop giving me work to do.
You don't
Cool.
have to, but you're going
The
to
Hobbit,
because you don't like
An
the
Unexpected
Goonies.
Journey is a movie that we all watched this week to cover on the show.
That is true.
So we've been talking about a lot of mid and towards the end of the movie. I love the first
43 minutes.
I would say after the 20-minute mark to the 43-minute mark.
Yeah, about 7 after all the stupid exposition is done.
After the dwarf scenes, I like the Bilbo and Frodo scenes. I really do.
to
I think they were a great addition. Now, it does
That's cute.
It does bring into question though, because this time we get in the movie, not the book, in the movie, we get old Bilbo writing a book to Frodo about his adventures. Now, if you're Bilbo at the point when you meet up with Frodo in Rivendell, why don't you be like, hey, Frodo, I understand that in the movie you didn't wait 20 years to go on this adventure. Let me tell you a thing or two about this guy named Gollum. He's going to try to steal the ring from you every chance he gets. Just kill him.
no, but then that like undermines that very meaningful conversation that Frodo has with Gandalf later on in Moria when they talk about Gollum, because they literally like see eyes in the distance and they're just very casually like, yeah, Gollum's following us. And Frodo's like, I wish that had never happened, and I wish like he had killed. Am I just like, wait, I might just be making something up.
I think you're making something up.
No, because maybe I'm thinking of a book scene. Frodo definitely says at one point or another, I wish Bilbo had just ended it then and killed Gollum. And Gandalf is like, oh, no, that, and it's they kind of like make it a very forceful, like Gandalf wisdom moment when he tells Bilbo when he gets his sword that, you know, it takes more courage to not take a life than it does to kill someone.
No, that's this movie.
No, that's what I'm saying. He says that in this movie, but he says that to Frodo in that moment in the book when Frodo's like, why didn't he just kill him? And
That has
I think
to be-
they took that quote and put that
Sure.
into that moment, but they like paraphrased it and it didn't sound as good to
That
me.
has to be a book scene. Now, it's been a minute since we covered them that I've seen the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah,
that
I have
has
not
to be a
seen
book
Fellowship
scene. That
in a
has to be a
while.
book scene because there's no way that Frodo, prior to meeting Gollum in the movies, knew about Gollum.
No, he does.
There's no shot.
Yes, he does. He knows about. They are very actively like, oh, there's Gollum. Literally,
I know there's,
there are
like-
several points where they're like, Gollum's following us.
Yeah, it happens in the mines of Moria.
And then there's
don't know.
also an extended scene too where Gollum
those
is
don't
literally
count.
like floating on a log.
Those don't count.
And Boromir, and I agree with you, but I'm just letting you know that they acknowledge the existence of Gollum well before Gollum appears. Don't act like I don't know what this is true. This is factual. This is factual.
I've still probably seen Fellowship more times than you, and I don't remember this happening at all.
Okay, but surely she's seen it more recently.
I don't know if I've seen it more recently.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we saw it around the same time.
I have definitely not watched Fellowship since November, probably.
Do you think, let me ask you this, Mary Clay Watt. The year of our Lord 2022, will you watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Probably not, no.
Not even in preparation of the series?
No. Well, why? I wouldn't need to watch the movie because all of that happens after what the series is going to be about.
Oh, so you'll just reread the Silmarillion?
I won't even. I don't even want to. I don't even want to read it the once.
First read. What if it ends up being like the Silmarillion to me is like the Bible, where it's like you can't just it's big. You can't just pick it up and read it. There's you have to have a guide. You have to be with a spiritual mentor. She's not even listening.
Where's she going? What is happening? Oh, she's getting a copy of the Silmaril. It's a thicko. Listeners and not watchers, it is a thick book. It's large boy.
It's like a textbook. This is. I want you to picture
very heavy
calculus for not even for dummies, for AP calculus students.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, it looks like a history textbook. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good sound.
And this is the illustrated edition. I'll say
it's also hardback.
However, so this is the illustrated edition, right? Okay, that was an illustration, but
lots of pages.
Very little actual illustrations. There's one every couple of, so it's not like the Harry Potter illustrated where it's so big and long because it's taken up by a lot of illustrations. No, this is majority.
Yeah, what's going to happen when they get to Order of the Phoenix Illustrated Edition?
It's going to be a book. It's going to maim people.
Those are cool.
I was going to say, we got in trouble in elementary school for throwing my copy of the Lord of the Rings at each other to see who could throw it harder at another person.
That's painful. Yeah, that's a brick.
Here's my thing about the Silmaril is that you can't just pick it up and read it. You're not allowed to.
I mean, you are.
What if I know you are, but what if it's super freaking readable, a middle grade?
It's not though.
I know it's not, but what if you start?
Okay, actually, you know what? Let's find out.
You know what's super readable? The Bible. It's just a bunch of easily digestible stories
and easily digestible sentences. You just got to find a good translation.
What is this? There's a letter.
Read us a Silmaril.
Where's just the first?
Yes, listeners. I know that the Silmarils are gems or whatever.
So we start right off the bat with a word I don't know how to say. It's just a blank page. Actually, wait. It's going to be reversed. Okay, never mind. It's Enulindale, and then there's a little umlaut on the E at the end. It's way too many vowels. All right. The music of the Aenir. There was Eru the One, who in Arda is called Iluvatar, and he made first the Aenir, the holy ones, that were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made.
It's literally the Bible.
He spoke to them, propounding to them themes of music, and they sang before him, and he was glad. Literally the Bible, yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing, though, is that people... So here's the thing about the Silmarillion. No one has told me more often than Lord of the Rings fans themselves how hard the Silmarillion is to read. They're like, it's like a Bible and a history textbook had a child and it turned out to be a really dense brick.
Do they know what the Bible is?
And then in the same
really
breath,
dense brick.
And then in the same breath, they'll be like, so why haven't you read it yet? And I'm like, or they'll be like, well, I've read it. You need to read it. You should read it.
Well,
and I'm
to be fair to you, it is the obvious third place behind the trilogy and
it's
the
not
Hobbit,
even the
right?
third place. It's the last place for me. There's like 3 other things that, like short stories or things that Tolkien wrote.
Right, but those don't matter at all.
Christopher edited. That,
Those don't matter at all.
No, the Unfinished Tales is supposedly what they pulled a lot of the material from for the other subplots in the Hobbit trilogy.
Sure. You know what I don't care about? Those.
But do you really care about the Silmarillion?
Yeah, because
then you read it.
because I've had people explain the stories in it, some of the stories in it to me, and I'm always like, this is fascinating. I don't want to read it. I want somebody to tell them to me as bedtime stories.
See, that's the problem is I get a lot of people being like, I don't want to read the Silmarillion. I want you to read the Silmarillion so I don't have to.
I'm with you on that. I would listen to your episodes
and
on
I'm
the
like, yeah,
Silmarillion
but the
before
problem
I
with that
listened to the Silmarillion.
is I have to read the Silmarillion.
But you're so smart.
You had to know it was going to happen, right? You had to know.
No. I genuinely did not ever think there would reach a point in the podcast where I would need to cover the Silmarillion.
I knew you were going to gaslight yourself into reading it eventually.
I did not think.
You're going to gaslight yourself into reading it.
Like, there are some like earlier episodes where I was like just being made aware of it, and I was like, "Oh, then I'm never gonna read that." You okay, Tyler? Are you doing that yourself? Okay.
I am. Yeah.
I had a funny
power was going.
I had
out.
a funny feeling that right around the time, there it is again, that funny feeling, right? I had a funny feeling that right around the time The Hobbit was coming out, or that you were doing the Hobbit stuff, that this Prime series was going to come out and they were going to be like, based on the hit novel, The Silmarillion by J.R.R.
No,
Tolkien.
we knew. Yeah, we've known for a while that it's based on a lot of these stories.
Oh,
it comes from this age.
Time out. Pause.
What? Okay, I've known.
You knew that.
Okay, I knew that.
I didn't.
But my problem.
I still haven't looked at the picture.
This is what my issue is with everyone analyzing that damn picture is that I don't want to know any of those details.
Dude,
I just want to watch the series.
You do, though. I think once
I
you get
don't.
into it, you're
No,
going to
I
want to know
don't.
this.
I do
I'm
not
with Mary
give
Clay.
two flying left Hobbit feet about what the details of those trees are.
When they're
I
getting
really
like
don't.
the fifth shard of the Siren Soul in Ready Player 2, and Will Wheaton is like, I'm going to describe the Arda planet. I'm sitting here like, fuck, that sounds cool. All of this stuff sounds so interesting. I want to know about Morgoth. That sounds rad.
Here it is. I don't think it has anything to do with like not wanting to know what the Silmarillion's about. I think what Mary Clay's saying. Let me mansplain Mary Clay's thoughts while she's right here with us.
Yeah, please do.
It's okay. I'm looking up that
I think
scene
what
with
she's saying is
Gandalf
that,
and
like,
Frodo and
I'm
Moria.
so over foreshadowing as a marketing campaign. Like, if we're gonna pick an element of AP English to make a marketing campaign out of, can it stop being freaking foreshadowing?
Well, no, if you want that to happen, you should have bought less Harry Potter books.
I know it is my fault.
Yeah, the queen of foreshadowing and transphobia herself.
But the problem is she's
lots of
not the
other
queen of
things.
foreshadowing. There's zero.
Tyler.
No, okay,
yes, she is.
Okay.
Yes, she is.
Okay, because she mentions the vanishing cabinet in book
It's so
2.
good. It's so nearly headless Nick breaks the fucking vanishing cabinet in book 2. George Lucas could never. He could never.
But what she doesn't do is it's not like you can be sitting there reading the Sorcerer's Stone and be like, you know what I think the second book's about? They're gonna find Tom Riddle's diary. That has been foreshadowed here, and he's gonna be like a living memory. Even memory Tom Riddle doesn't make any sense. If you really sit there and think about like how does memory Tom Riddle work into this whole Horcrux thing, you're gonna be like, oh right,
that's because Horcruxes hadn't been invented then.
Right, she hadn't thought of
No,
that.
she just straight up had
she
not thought of them.
Lied.
She had in the same way that when Tolkien wrote The Hobbit and he created this character of the Necromancer, I think Tolkien maybe did intentionally write some of these like open-ended parts of the story where like he could come back in later and expand on those in the future if he wanted to. And maybe that's also what J.K. Rowling did. Is she was like, I have this idea, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. So I'm going to write little hints of it right now in case I want to reference it back in the future.
I think that's what the Vanishing Cabinet was. I think when she made Memory Tom Riddle, that was going to be the end of the Voldemort storyline.
I'm pretty sure that J.R.R. Tolkien, when he wrote, "Thank goodness!" said Bilbo, laughing, comma, and handed him the tobacco jar. Period. He put that pen flourish on there and said, "Cool, I'm done writing forever."
No, I really don't think that, because I really do not think you just... This is just what always amazes me about, and this is why people are like, well, why did you cover Lord of the Rings first and not The Hobbit? I'm like, because I thought Lord of the Rings was the series, and I thought The Hobbit was written later as a prequel, because a normal person does not write this like fun, happy-go-lucky children's tale. It's 200 pages, and then their editor is like, hey, this book actually is doing really well. People like the characters and the story. Do you have anything else in this world? And then he's like, you know what? Now that you mention it, and then proceeds to word vomit 1,000+ detailed plus pages and languages and maps and God knows what else that didn't even make it to the final cut. And he's like, I'm really glad you asked. Here you go. I don't think you just have all that sloshing around in your head and not have any... I don't think he was like, I think let me sit down and think of a new story.
No, I think it's sloshed up in the intervening 20 years. Not that.
Maybe, but I don't think he finished The Hobbit and was like, well, I have nothing else to write about.
No, but what I'm saying is, I don't think he got to, in a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, the uncle of Frodo Baggins, a character I've totally invented.
No.
He was like, this is it. This is Bill Bobbagins. That's it. That's all you got.
I don't think... Oh, I didn't bring up in our coverage of the first 45 minutes when Keely and Feely greet him at the door. They say, you must be Mr. Boggins. And it made me laugh so much. Anyway.
But my thing, here's where I'm at. I read a lot of books. We talk about this
good for you.
I'm very tired of novelists, of authors being like, I have more stories in this series for sure. I'm very tired of companion series. I'm very like I can't even imagine reading this Six of Crows. What do they call it? The Grishaverse nonsense.
That's
I understand these books are probably fantastic.
I watched the Netflix series.
Shadow
Cannot
Bone,
for the life
Shadow
of
Bone.
me. That's what it's called. Yeah.
And then and then she wrote 2 more as like a companion series.
Yeah, I don't know how. Granted, I don't know how the book ends, but the first season of that show definitely ended like open-ended enough that there's still more to the story. So I don't know if that. I just assumed that's how the book ended, but I guess not. But yeah, I don't know how those fantasy YA
about
authors.
Like I'm
and I say this having had one of these fantasy YA authors on Tolkien about. I don't know how they just crank out these stories and they're like, yeah, I have more, and I'm like, how?
But the thing is, though, Tyler, I hear where you're coming from in most genres, and I agree with you. Like, I think Becky Abertali needs to stop writing books in the Simonverse. Come up with new characters, please.
Just let them be.
Let them live. Stop telling me what happened after the end of the book. John Green wrote a whole book about not telling you what happens after the end of the book. Stop doing it.
Well, he told you that.
But people
that author was wrong.
People like Lee Bardugo have grown up in a world in which they're expected, because you're now expected to write more books than J.R.R. Tolkien. If you're going to start a fantasy series, you have to commit to 5 books, right? Like if you're going to start a fantasy series, this is what baffles me about Patrick Rothfuss, because he was just like, no, I'm going to take 10 years to finish the 3rd one. If you're expected to write more than 5 books because that's what J.R.R. Tolkien did, and you are now a post-Tolkien author. You have to write fantasy book after fantasy book after fantasy book after fantasy book. Firmly, I believe that's what George R.R. Martin got to 5 and was like, yeah, I don't have anything else, but I'm going to lie and say that I do.
I don't think
The Winds of Winter coming 2005.
I don't think the reason that there are all these like really long fantasy series that go on forever has anything to do with like, oh, well, Tolkien wrote 4 fantasy books.
Absolutely it does.
No, it's got everything to do with
everything to
do with JKR and Marvel.
Because Tolkien wrote all of his books
because this was happening before.
At once.
This was happening before Joanne Rowling and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Robert Jordan was like, you know what? I'm going to write 11 of these books in the Wheel of Time series, and I'm going to die the series to Brandon Sanderson, who's written 17 of his own books to finish.
But then you're getting into the world of capitalism. In 1930 and 1950, when Tolkien was publishing The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, he was not like, I want to make as much money as possible off of these books, because that was not something that the world was focused on at the moment. And nowadays, publishers, it's a much more obviously commodified thing where there are publishers and agents, and there are like 3 publishing houses that own everything now and print everything. And that was not at all the case when Tolkien published his. What?
There's 5 publishers.
Okay, well, whatever.
Except
they're all even like subsets of each other, though.
This genre that has its own rules and B, its own set of publishers.
It's got one publisher. It's Tor.
It's got more than Tor.
Listen, if you're not writing with Brandon Sanderson, you're not writing. Brandon Sanderson wants
I don't understand that, man.
He wants Stormlight Archive to be 40 plus books.
And he's written 4 so far.
There's no way that all of those books are good.
I'll tell you this. I've read one Brandon Sanderson book. I finished it this week. It was literally the best fantasy book I've ever read.
I've read one of his series, and I enjoyed it immensely, but I don't think it was the greatest fantasy series of all time. And if he has like 4 more of those
Here's the thing,
series that are totally different, there's no way they're all good.
Here's the thing, though, is they are, though, apparently. They are individual people.
But they're probably not.
Because nobody, when it comes to the Cosmere, the whole, which is his verse, the Sanderson verse, it's called the Cosmere. People refuse to tell you where to start, right? They're like, figure it out for yourself. Just pick a book 1 and go for it, right? And people come to the independent conclusions that the first Mistborn trilogy is incredible, and the second Mistborn trilogy is incredible, and the Stormlight Archives is incredible, and they've never read the other ones, and they never talked to anybody that's read the other ones.
I don't want to listen. I've been on Book Talk long enough, and I've been like, it took me like 2 weeks to read Mistborn, book 1, The Final Empire. And in that time, I opened TikTok, and they knew, right? They knew that I was reading it. I don't want to interact with the other people who have read it. This is for me to enjoy. You guys can read it, and I'll talk to you about it. I don't want to talk to the people who make their life reading Brandon Sanderson.
Anyway, so Lee Bardugo now has to make, and Lee Bardugo, if you're listening to this, thank you for listening to Bacon and Eggs. I'm sure Becca brought you here. I've never read your books. I'm
sure they're great.
I intend to. I just haven't been on a high fantasy kick, and I'm a mood reader, okay? I have to read, you know what slaps Crazy Rich Asians? Lee Bardugo, you should go read that book by Kevin Kwan, and I'll tell Kevin Kwan when I talk to him to read your books. Until then, I get where you're coming from. Becky Abertali, if you're listening, again, I love your books. They're fantastic.
You might be.
They're fantastic. Simon vs. the Homo sapiens Agenda, great book. Let him die.
I mean, maybe not die.
If I get an angry DM or an angry tweet from Becky Abertali being like, this guy was mean to Simon, that would make my life.
He's dead now. Simon's dead. Canonically, Simon has died.
Anyway, if this is listeners, if you're interested in episodes where Ethan yells about stuff, this is a great one. I came to work today fired up, apparently.
Yeah. Clearly.
Also,
go listen to Tuesday's episode of That's What I'm Talking About, where Ethan and I talked about the pronunciation of Gimli's father's name for a full 5 minutes.
And I could talk about it for 5 more minutes. And you know what? You know what the crazy thing is? Before I came on to record this podcast, I literally...
You were like, I'm not going to talk about it.
No. I literally finished up, like 20 minutes before we started recording, I literally finished up like a 3.5 mile walk. And then just like died for 5 minutes and got back up and was like, cool, ready to do some podcasting.
Endorphins make you happy, and
Apparently.
happy people just don't kill.
And you're going to sleep better tonight. I'll say this, Clive Staples Lewis, I'm actually kind of upset with you because you wrote 7 books from 7 different perspectives in your stupid Narnia series. It might be your fault that we're stuck here. This is why J.K. Rowling did so well. I have 7 books of the same god-awful third-person limited perspective.
No, it's a great perspective, and they're all better than The Hobbit. Every Harry Potter book is better than The Hobbit. Sorry. I know she sucks. She's a better writer than 1930s J.R.R. Tolkien.
Better 21st century writer.
Yeah, her books hold up better than this thing that I liked very much. It's slow.
I think
the pacing is very weird. As a person who's used to reading books that have less information compacted into every single sentence, it's a dense book to get through.
So here's my reaction to
Much
your
like
statement
me,
that
deceptively
Harry
thick.
Potter is better than The Hobbit. I don't necessarily think that. I think that they were written in entirely different times, and the way that you wrote books in the 1930s is just something that we are not familiar with. And if we were more familiar with that, then The Hobbit would probably seem more normal and we would enjoy it more. But with our more modern day brains that have read Harry Potter, that are well and evenly paced throughout, we're like, why is this Tolkien?
Negative Ghost Rider. This thing is worse than.
Hold
on, Tyler, stop for a second. This thing that I'm holding right here, listeners, is the book of The Hobbit. This is worse than A Christmas Carol. It's worse than Great Expectations. It's worse than Jane Eyre. It's worse than Pride and Prejudice, and it's worse than every full-length Sherlock Holmes novel, which were all written in the 1800s, like this pretends to be.
So we could actually find out, if we're talking about the 30s, in 1931, only 2 books in the fiction category made the New York Times bestseller list. They were The 10 Commandments by Warwick Deeping and Maid in Waiting by John Galsworthy. We could just read those 2 books and find out whether or not they're good and easy to read and written like The Hobbit.
Well, because the thing is J.R.R. Tolkien wrote a book called The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, written in the style of the 1890s when it was the 1950s, when people were discovering Elvis Presley and Carl Perkins. Blue Suede Shoes is on the radio while this stuff was coming out. And don't get me wrong, it's great, but it has always been anachronistic from the day it hit the page.
I'm still reeling from the fact that you listed off all of those books that you say The Hobbit is worse than.
Worse than, yeah. Less fun, less interesting, less readable. You know who's a better character than Bilbo Baggins? Sherlock Holmes.
Again, I just don't think
Ebenezer Scrooge.
I don't think you can compare The Hobbit to it's apples and oranges, because The Hobbit is not Jane Eyre or Sherlock Holmes, because The Hobbit was written to be a children's fairy tale adventure
That's
story.
fine. It's no longer a children's fairy tale adventure story, though. It has become a piece of adult-consumed mass market media. Therefore, it is judgeable like every other piece of adult-consumed mass market media.
Man, you were really coming in hot with whatever energy.
This is a fun fact. In 1937, the year The Hobbit was released, it did not hit the New York Times bestseller list. Books that did include Gone with the Wind, Drums Along the Mohawk, Theatre, The Years, The Outward Room, Northwest Passage, The Citadel, and that's it.
I would rather read Gone with the Wind. Honestly, great book. Better movie, although equally suffers from a length problem.
Margaret Mitchell is the author on that one. Maggie Mitchell.
Anyway, if it has ever come in a mass market paperback, which this is not, but if it's ever come in a mass market paperback, they are comparable. That's my hot take here.
Okay.
That was adorable, whatever that was.
Ooh, something just happened. It's a fun fact. Gone with the Wind, the movie is 3 hours long. The novel is 1,037 pages.
Yeah, she thick.
So that makes a little bit more sense to me. I will say this. The Hobbit is an exercise in maybe you don't need every single detail portrayed on the screen.
That's true.
We're talking about the movie again?
Yeah, we're talking about the movie again.
I feel like I just got accosted. I don't know what I walked into.
Where
I've read one book this year.
Hold on, you didn't get accosted.
Hobbit.
You didn't get accosted at all. I'm criticizing.
Y'all were just
actually. I'm not even
criticizing books.
I'm not even criticizing J.R.R.
anything.
Tolkien. I'm just saying he's a worse. He in 1930 was a worse writer than Charles Dickens. Is what I just said.
No, not even that. You were throwing author names left and right, and I'm like, I know one author, and his name's Jolkin Rolkin
Okay,
Tolkien.
very clear.
It took me 4 months to read his book.
As soon as we finish this, I will go to finish. As soon as we finish recording this, I will go to finish book number 118 for the year.
I'll do 67.
I don't even know what other books I've read this year.
Do you want to borrow some? I have a lot.
Yeah, I'm coming up to Richmond in a couple weeks. So I can just bring you a stack of books to read.
No, I have books.
You should read The Midnight Library by
my
Matt
God.
Haig. Fantastic
Oh
book.
my God,
You
no,
should
just
read-
all my
you should
time.
read-
All my time these days is taken up by these fucking movies.
You should read Dreadnought by April Daniels. Forget everything else.
Okay, what books have I read anything this year besides The Hobbit?
I don't think so. I think you would have
you
said
read-
something.
you
Mary
read
Clay, I've
Hank
talked to
Green's
you
book?
every day this year, and you have never mentioned another
No, we
book.
haven't
Yeah, we sure have.
read.
You on Goodreads?
I've listened to. Oh no, I have. Oh, you're gonna be mad though.
Why?
No, I'm excited now. Was it Potter?
Red, white, and royal blue.
Nice. Nice.
You like the steamy gay
my God.
sex boy book?
Oh my
Oh
God.
wait, no, I read Tweet Cute this year.
Oh, I
Yeah.
read
I
Tweet
have that on
Cute.
my
It was
shelf.
super cute. I meant to
read a
bring it to
couple
you,
other
Tyler. I
books.
forgot to do that.
I have it. It's on my shelf.
Oh, do you? Oh.
Yeah. It's
Well,
not on
or
this
you
shelf.
can just
it's on
rent
the shelf
it.
in my bedroom.
Just check it out
No, that's
I
a
own it.
from a Liberty.
Oh, well. You think I have a library card? I've read 117 books this year. They would hate me
How do you not have a library card?
because I buy books with money.
Yeah, I buy books with dollars.
But the library is free.
Yeah.
And Tyler,
Yeah.
you should.
It's not about- hey,
Tyler.
Mary Clay.
You should especially get a library card because you can go check out books for your children who who get tired of books when you buy them after you read them for 1 week, and then you bring a whole stack of books from the library home and you read them at bedtime and you go through all of them once or twice, and then by the time it's time to bring them back to the library, they're bored of them already, and then guess what? You can get more new books. Have you guys seen the movie Matilda?
So I'll tell
I
you
have.
this.
Mary
I'll tell
Clay,
you this.
I've-
One, hold on. I'll say this. One, I think that's a fantastic idea. Two, you
can also get movies.
Severely underestimate how many children's books I have.
I have two. I also
I'm
have,
not-
I have two bones to pick with
don't
you
have to
here.
buy them.
One,
I don't buy them. They're birthday presents.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he does have people that love him that give him a bunch of books for his kids. I have a couple months to pick with you about this as well. One, do you really think I, as a child, ever got tired of reading Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? Because I did not.
Oh man,
Yeah, but that was one book.
one's
There's
so
probably
good.
for every Alexander and the Very Good, Terrible, No Good,
Alexander
Very Bad
and
Day.
the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day.
For every one of those, there's probably at least 5 books that you had on your little kid bookshelf that you read once or twice, and then you never picked up again. And then
No,
your
I
parents
was
are like,
a
"That's
I
a
was
what I
a
read to my
voracious
children.
reader.
I have been reading The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan to my daughter from the day she was born till now. Okay, it's the greatest kids book of all time.
That's just not true. Because I know when your child was born, you started reading her The Fellowship of the Ring.
I did actually. I've read of the Hobbit and
The second bone I
Fellowship.
have to pick. If I take out books from the library, I have to give them back. And if I have to give them back, how can I stand on my Instagram at the end of the year next to a stack of all the books I've read this year that's twice as tall as me, and with the caption, "I'm better than you," because I am.
You're not better
How
than other
can I
people
do that?
because you have money to buy books."
No,
It's not about having money to buy books.
no. I'm not.
And I get you're being facetious here.
I'm not better than you because I have money to buy books. I'm better than you because I will have read over 200 books at the end of the year, and you'll have read one, and you hate it.
Okay, but
That
didn't
makes
hate
me
The
better
Hobbit.
than you.
She did read The Hobbit and Tweet Cute.
I didn't.
Okay, you'll have read 2
But I didn't
books, and
hate
you
The
hated
Hobbit.
one of them.
I didn't.
Did you?
hate
Hold on.
The
Did you like
Hobbit.
Red, White, and Royal Blue?
Did you listen to any of the episodes?
Is The Hobbit better than Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston? Now, let me
those
preface
are
this.
totally
Hold, pause.
The Hobbit doesn't have any sex scenes in it.
Pause for 2 seconds
So The Hobbit
here.
is better, is all I'm
The
hearing.
Hobbit doesn't have a female president.
Pause. Everybody shut the fuck up.
Also, wait, hang on. Side for the record, I am not a Red, White, and Royal Blue whatever stan. It's just a book that I enjoy.
I was trying to give you a chance to not say something like that.
I am
Because
not I'm not a stan.
I do want to say that a creator on our network, the WBNE Podcast Network,
She knows who she is.
is the world's biggest Red, White, and Royal Blue stan.
Yeah, she follows a
hold on,
bot
I'm not
account.
done. I'm not done. there is a 0% chance that J.R.R. Tolkien, John Ronald Reuel Tolkien,
wrote Red, White, and
is
Royal Blue.
listening to this podcast right now. There is a greater than 0% chance that Casey McQuiston
so this is all about flattery.
Is listening to this podcast because Casey McQuiston, the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, as of when we recorded this podcast, is not dead.
Hi, Casey. I would just like to let you know you are not better than J.R.R. Tolkien just because you're alive.
Listen,
Casey McQuiston, I have not read any of your books.
Where do you guys live?
But that's probably the same as well.
Roanoke Public Library is in, what park is this?
Elmwood Park. I know where the library is, Mary Clay. I
Well, then
live
go
here.
to it.
Why would I go to it when I could go to Barnes & Noble and use my Barnes & Noble membership and spend a bunch of money and give it to authors?
Or you can still check out, authors know they don't get royalties from you checking out the books, but authors do still get some kind of royalties for when they place their books in libraries to be checked out by people.
But other people will check those books out, and I have money.
Okay.
And I can
Good
just
for
buy
you.
the books and ruin them.
You can also download the app
Look
Libby,
at me.
and you
I'm
can
crack
check
a
out
spine of a book.
audiobooks.
Look at me cracking spine.
And ebooks.
Can't do that with an
by
audiobook.
connecting the app to your public library, and you can check out audiobooks
Can't
for
crack
free.
a spine on a library book.
I made a TikTok. There was a TikTok where a girl she was like, here's how to open your book without cracking the spine. And she was like, first sit it upright and turn it gently back page by page. And then I stitched it and I just opened up my book and cracked the spine. And I got more hate comments in that post than I did when I
have.
That's a lie.
I do
That's
just
a
want you
lie.
to know, I have officially ruined this copy of The Hobbit.
That's fine. Well, that's my
It
thing.
is now
books
permanently stuck on page
Some books are
144.
meant to be ruined. I highlight in my copies,
a lot of
so
people
I didn't
will say-
care
I do
about
not-
keeping the
I do
spine
not spend
Lord
intact.
of the Rings books because they are leather bound.
Yeah, maybe don't crack the nice ones. Don't do that.
But I do have a
that's not
copy
nice.
of the Lord of the Rings of science fiction. This is Dune. I have not read it yet, as you can see. Frank Herbert's work. We'll just go ahead and crack this bad boy a little bit.
Kevin Kwan, if
I
you're
had someone suggest to me that I should cover Dune after Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I'm very much good.
Kevin
Thanks.
Kwan,
You don't want to do Dune? I've heard Dune's very good.
author Kevin Kwan, author of Crazy Rich Asians. If you're listening to this podcast right now, which I'm sure you're not, you have much better things to do. If you're listening to this podcast right now, I did buy a trade paperback copy of your first novel, Crazy Rich Asians, and I have absolutely destroyed it because every 5 pages I have to crack the spine so it doesn't close on my hands.
What is the book you've put the most damage into?
Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The back cover has a very large bite out of it that was taken by a dog that is no longer living.
Nice.
Or Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which is, as far as I can tell, gone. Vanished into oblivion. The illuminated special edition copy I spent $50 on and bought at release night and dressed up for to get has been missing since 2007.
I want to see cosplay, Ethan. Are there photos?
No, that was before camera phones. My dearly departed mother and I dressed up as Harry Potter characters and went to Barnes & Noble.
My
Do
brothers
you
and
remember
I
what
just
character
went.
you were?
No,
Yeah.
we just put robes on and shit.
Oh.
Were you a Hufflepuff? I swear to God.
No, obviously I
You
wasn't
are the
Hufflepuff.
one
It was
that brought this
2000.
up, Tyler. Tyler, here's the thing, listeners. Here's the thing. Tyler will pretend like he despises talking about the Hogwarts houses. 9 times out of 10, he is the one who brings it up.
I do
He brings it up.
despise it.
Every
I do-
time. He's like,
because
oh my God, I
it's like a
can't
li-
stand talking about the Hogwarts houses. Anyway, are you a Hufflepuff or a Slytherin?
Mary
And I'm
Clay,
like,
I do want to
asked.
let you know that you do this as well. You talk about Jeff Bezos more than anybody alive.
Ooh,
Oh
it's
man,
true.
Jeffrey Bezos.
You
Fuck
hate
him.
Jeff Bezos, but you
Jeffy
talk about you invoke the name of
Bezos.
Bezos more than anybody except Bo
Yeah,
Burnham.
because that's like a universal thing that we're all.
Okay, but I don't ever
do
talk
you know
about
that
Jeff
we all
Bezos,
relate
right?
to?
Like I
Do you know
don't
the world
ever
I
talk about
exist
Jeff
in?
Bezos unless I'm talking to you.
I get a DM once a day. That's not true. I get a DM once a day. That's like, what's your Hogwarts house, Tyler? Shut up.
You're the one who
Making
I
him lose his focus.
What am I doing? I'm looking up my settings.
Those guys, Gryffindors.
The monsters?
the janitor monsters.
The janitor monsters. Those guys are Hufflepuffs. Absolutely.
No, there are no Hufflepuffs. Hufflepuff isn't real.
Okay,
Yeah.
neither.
We're done.
Hey,
We're done.
Tyler,
We're done.
Hey,
We're
Tyler,
literally
hey,
done.
T-Money.
I'm not.
Hey,
Ethan?
T-Baby. Neither are monsters, bud.
Hey, Ethan.
Yeah.
Literally in the Mines of Moria, it says, there's something down there. Yes, it's Gollum. And then Frodo says, Gollum? And Gandalf says, he's been following us for 3 days. And Frodo says, he escaped the dungeons of Barad-dûr? And then Gandalf says, escaped or let go. So Frodo does know that Gollum
this is in the
following
movie?
them. This is in the movie.
Okay. I
I
don't
will
know.
send you the scene.
No, you don't need to. I trust you.
Well, I'm going to send it anyway.
Okay.
You didn't trust me before!
Mary
When
Clay.
I told
Hey,
you.
Mary Clay. Of course I trusted you. I did
No,
it for
you
the,
didn't.
I did it for
No,
the
you
I did it for the
didn't. You
vine.
didn't
I did it for the
believe
vine.
me.
I did it for the vine.
Well, this isn't a Vine.
Do it for the TikTok.
Vine's dead. And you don't post on TikTok, so that means nothing.
Who, me?
Not
I passed you on TikTok once
You
upon
also
a
don't.
time.
That one time
I comment
for
on
3
TikTok.
months.
Yeah. Sorry for maintaining a relatively healthy relationship with the social media platform. My bad, guys. You know what? Hey, Mary Clay, you know what I've been doing is instead of posting TikToks is reading 118 books. I don't have
Cool.
time to do anything else. People have asked me all year, hey, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? Why haven't you watched this? Oh my God, you haven't seen the second season of Outer Banks yet? No, I've been reading 118 books.
I can't wait for it to be 2022
Oh my
and
God,
for y'all
me
to just
neither.
shut the fuck up about books.
I don't think I'm
Oh my
ever going
God.
to shut up about books again, honestly. Nothing gives me more serotonin at this point than finishing a book.
Nothing
I'm
is better-
I'm happy that everyone is exploring this love of reading this year. But like, I knew that this challenge when y'all were like, hey, Mary Clay, want to join in on our book challenge?
No, we invited
I
you
was
to
like,
participate. And you
I
said
know.
no.
I said no because I knew exactly. I was like, it's gonna get weird, and Ethan's gonna have a superiority complex, and Becca's not gonna talk to anyone because she's always reading.
I mean, I don't
And then
actually have a
Tyler and
superiority
Edie I don't
complex.
know how y'all are doing, but
We have jobs, Eni and I, so we're like way behind.
I resemble
they
that
have
remark.
day jobs. They have day jobs.
We have day I have to go
clarify.
into work. I can't read a book on the job.
That must suck.
It does.
Sorry,
yeah.
bro.
Eni didn't for a long time. She was able to read at work, and she was wrecking us. Those are the old days.
It's easier. Hey, it's easier for you to read at work than it is for me.
Sometimes it just depends. Not always.
No, hey, have you ever tried editing a podcast and listening to an audiobook at the same time? It doesn't work.
You also can't listen to an audiobook and talk to a literal doctor at the same time.
Sure you can.
Let's go to the big board. Let's do some rap sauce.
So here's the thing. I'm looking at a picture of the Fellowship, and Gimli, like we were talking about, because John Rhys Davies has a good, naturally without effects, has a good foot on the hobbits, and that's how they appear in this picture. But we talked about this on my podcast. The dwarves' proportions to Bilbo in this movie are just not correct, because there are a lot of points where Bilbo is the exact same height as them when they should at least be a foot taller. And it makes me very mad, because then at that point the CGI was useless.
Where did
it's
they
well, then
spend-
what was the point of this CGI for the dwarves if you didn't even get all the proportions right?
Where did they spend that potentially $315 million on?
Who cares? They made their money back threefold. Just to recap the
I
scores,
cares.
I gave it a 72. Ethan gave it a 59. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a... that's the wrong score. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a...
64.
64. I gotta update that real quick. Bilbo was in it for 73% of the movie, and Mary Clay gave it a 75. Bacon and Eggs listener score is going to be under 60, I think.
Nope.
God, this is
It is a 72.
72.
That's okay. That's
72.
Tyler's score. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it is Tyler's score exactly. Wow.
It's because this is definitely because okay. So An Unexpected Journey, out of the three of them, is the movie that follows most closely to the source material.
Sure.
And then the more you get into the other movies is where you're like, why just why is this happening? And it starts to like like that's when you can, and I had the same issue with the Lord of the Rings movies where I'd be like, I can tell where it deviates from the source material because it's just not as good. And so I think what is this movie? Unexpected Journey. It definitely gets worse as it goes because we start out. It's a somewhat solid start, and had the other two maybe been better, it could have like saved everything. But you can't all be there's good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I've got good news. This movie scores a 67.75, which is a 67.8 on the Bacon and Egg score, which rounds up to a 68. The only other movie at a 67.8 is High School Musical 3.
See, here's the thing: is like,
is this better than High School Musical 3?
No.
I've never seen High School Musical 3, so I have
Stop it.
no.
Yes, you
I have no.
Use
frame
my
of
Disney
reference.
Plus login.
Here's the thing about like that score and everything is that like I have an instinct to want to like defend it and be like, oh, it's not that bad, and because I'm trying my darndest to not let like outside preconceived like opinions affect too much of like how I'm covering it and viewing it. I'm trying my darndest to like watch as much of it with an open mind. But then like I like will watch it or I'll sit down and talk about it and be like, wait, no, that actually isn't.
Here's what I think.
It's not.
This is my prediction. 9 hours of The Hobbit from now is. This will exist as a decent enough, like literally 9-hour chunk of media that you can watch at any pace you want. But as far as like watching it as 3 movies, it is nigh unwatchable. You know what I mean? Like it would be better if it was broken up into like 45-minute segments, like a TV show. Like it's just.
Actually, I had John Negroni in our recording that won't come out till next week. He said, he was like, I wonder if this would have been better the way that Peter Jackson envisioned like this story that he told in the 3 movies. He's like, I wonder if it would have been better as a TV show or a series.
Truly, I think I think Tyler's correct. I think if you watch it 45 minutes at a time, you'll enjoy it more.
Yeah.
If you watch it 45 minutes at a time, once per week for 9 weeks or whatever.
Let's
13
just throw
weeks.
out till October 19th, just throwing out a random date.
Right. Yeah. Till October 19th. I think you'd enjoy it thoroughly more. Like if it came out on Tuesdays and you watched,
we'll check back in.
You watched Loki Vision Eye on Fridays, it'd be much better.
My concern with covering them is that I don't think they have great rewatch value. And so I think over time, I'm really going to dislike them a lot more than I started out watching them. And it was the exact opposite with the Lord of the Rings movies where I grew to appreciate them more.
I've got a
Pointing
prediction.
at me.
I've got a prediction.
Okay.
Tyler, take your headphones off because I know you don't listen to this stuff.
What?
He doesn't listen to the show. Off. Take them off your body so you can't hear anything.
Are you making a prediction about Tyler?
Yeah. Stop. Look away. Stop reading lips. Look away. Look down. You're standing in your grave.
He looks so ashamed.
I think that he likes each one consistently better.
Okay.
And listeners, nobody tell him this, okay? But I think he rates them all better. than this one. I think he continues to go up as we go on.
That wouldn't surprise me.
All right, I'm going to give him the thumbs up for when he finally looks back here, which is going to be never. I did not think this through.
Let's just
Tyler.
let's just see how long.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
And so that is why I think having
And
a
then they
birthday
made
party
me
with
their
the
chief.
theme Too Fast, Too Furious is the best birthday party you could have ever had for a 2-year-old child.
I'm so bummed I can't come to your daughter's second birthday. I'm going to try, but I might.
You've had one birthday, yes. What about second birthday? That would be a fun birthday
What
party
about
theme
second
for a
birthday?
kid.
Hey,
That's
luckily-
actually fucking cute.
Luckily, he has another kid that's going to turn 2 eventually, and probably a
Yes,
third one after
okay.
that, honestly.
I will personally come and decorate and do everything for that party. That's a lie. If you go with the, what about second birthday?
Tyler, the minute Finn was
That's
born.
so
I think
cute.
we're done. Tyler, a week later. Just waiting on the third one, honestly.
I have to have a middle child.
Got to complete the set, right? You got to have a Ben. Every family needs a Ben.
Ben is more successful than either Jonathan and I, so. Boo-hoo. This has been Bacon and Eggs. My name is Tyler Carlin. If you like this show and you want to listen to more like it, I highly recommend Unsobered. I was on that show some point in the future talking about Jyn Erso from Rogue One. There's a preview for Unsobered right here.
Hi, I'm Julia, the host of Unsobered, Badass Women of History and Literature, the podcast where I talk about the women that the history books, history classes, and the general public often overlook, or who just get a brief mention, but we never really know the whole story of their impact on the world we live in. On Unsobered, I share the stories and histories of these badass, amazing, and strong women. And while I tell you the history we don't get from traditional history classes, I get more and more drunk over the course of the episode. So join me to learn more about your favorite women, or to find a new favorite woman that you didn't even know contributed to one of your favorite things, with new episodes every other Friday.
I know. Thank you for so much for joining us, Mary Clay Watt.
Thank you for so much.
Do you want people to find you on the internet?
I mean, there's only one Mary Clay Watt out there, so it's pretty hard to not find me on the internet.
I'm the only one of me, too.
This is a fun fact about Tyler Carlin. There's me and a kid who brought a Nerf gun to his 8th grade class. So,
Congratulations.
Which was also
All right.
Tyler.
it was not me.
Hey, you know what else Tyler Carlin did when he was in elementary school? He pooped his pants when he listened to the Itsy Bitsy
No,
Spider.
stop. Oh my God, I totally forgot that this happened.
Well, okay, you want to know what's really dumb? So we had that whole conversation and made subsequent jokes about it. And then in the literal next recording, I said, I just don't think bathroom humor jokes are funny. And you go back 1 week and we're making fun of you for pooping your pants.
You know how little I remember people. Okay, so listeners, viewers, I want to tell you something about the art of podcasting here.
It's gone.
You remember nothing.
Once
gone.
you finish a podcast recording, your brain goes Control A, Control D, empty recycle bin. Gone entirely. No files remaining. Move to trash. Gone, right? And then you go back to edit the podcast and you're like, oh,
Wait a
that
minute.
thing I said was funny. That thing I said was funny.
I swear to God, when you Google me, Bacon and Eggs comes up, and then The Princess Diaries featuring Mary Clay Watt. Before even that's what I'm talking about. You have to
what's so
click the
funny?
next page of Google to get to my podcast.
We're not even like a bigger podcast than you at this point. We like weekly probably pull in similar numbers.
Oh, hey, I made a listicle in July of 2002.
When you
2020.
Google me, you get my Twitter.
Oh, no, never mind.
And then my Instagram, and then my Facebook, and then my Foursquare.
Well, I mean, you do get, let's see. You get my Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok,
The first time,
YouTube.
Oh, you get a Roanoke article
Medium.
about get to know podcaster from Bacon and Eggs, our platinum award winner.
I will never-
most savvy entrepreneur.
Tyler, I just want to tell you, it like as your best friend, as somebody that considers you a brother, as your co-creator, I'm so proud of you for that. As the person that got forgotten in that article, it hurts my soul.
Excuse you,
day.
I mentioned you like immediately. Like
I know you did. And Tyler,
answer.
I am forever grateful for that. But and like, it's one of those things where like you apologized, but they didn't.
So yeah, if you Google me, you get to know Bacon and Eggs podcaster Tyler Carlin.
What's the name of their office? Who was the paper that did that thing?
It was a magazine. It was the Roanoker. And then
Anyway.
my Twitter, and then a bunch of images of actually me.
Oh, if you Google image me, what comes up? My current profile picture, my old profile picture, my profile picture before that, my business headshot, Tyler, my dad, me on Foursquare, me on Twitter, the restricted section podcast cover art.
You get it's a whole bunch of pictures. It's from the weekend I went to go visit Maria Calores in DC, and we went to the cherry blossoms, and I'm wearing a jean jacket and a yellow shirt, and she was practicing like taking a couple pictures, and so she got a couple nice pictures of me, and then I also got some on my phone. And so it's just like a whole bunch of variations of like that outfit and that weekend. And then me at the Cliffs of Moher.
The last
storytelling podcast week.
Here's a fun fact. When you Google image me, the last thing that comes up on the page is Mary Clay Watt.
Wait a minute. I have a picture of you.
Yeah, because we're all on the your host.
No, but it's like your... I'll send you the screenshot. I don't know. And then same with... What? Why are you... Okay, hang on.
So we're all on the your host page on WBD.com. Or WBD.org. So like I have you, I have Katrina.
No, stop. This is the best picture. The fourth picture when you Google image search Ethan Edgehill is Ethan's beardless headshot.
Taken by Mark Graziano.
When he was selling life insurance. Followed up by Ethan's Foursquare picture in the Cardigan Freshman Hall, Santoro 1 South. Yes.
Mary Clay Watt, Twitter.com. Mary Clay Watt, Twitter.com. These are pictures of me and Tyler.
Pictures of you and Tyler.
There are current avatars,
pictures.
yeah. Which I took both of. Anyway.
You took mine? Yeah, you did take mine. You didn't take
yeah.
There's another one of me that floats around that you did not take.
Well, you haven't asked me to take a picture of you in a long time.
If you want to hear more in-depth thoughts about the first Hobbit movie, you can listen to my podcast. That's what I'm talking about. And I don't know if like next week we might be more on topic because I haven't talked about that movie at all yet.
I think we definitely will because I've yelled about everything I'm going to yell about, I think.
Like I feel like I don't really have like much to say about this first one other than like Martin Freeman's has a delightful performance, which they completely reworked the schedule around him because he was filming Sherlock at the time and he was their first choice. And he had to turn it down, and they're like, well, we want you, so we're going to rework everything to have you.
I mean,
and then they must have been like, you know what, since you're shooting Sherlock right now, why don't we get Benedict as well?
Can you get your tall friend on to come in and
the thing is,
slither around on the floor?
Listeners, the thing about the Hobbit, an Unexpected Journey is... The only part of this movie that matters is the first 43 minutes, which we talked about in depth. That's what I'm talking about.
You know what we did? I mean, it's too late now. We're at the end of the episode.
We can do a hash brown.
Talk about literally, I think, the thing that, and it's what's so odd. The Riddles in the Dark scene with Gollum is like it's almost like you, after reading or watching Lord of the Rings, you read or watch The Hobbit for that moment of like, this is how the ring came to be.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge moment. And they did a really good job of it in the movie. And I don't know how they made Gollum look still really good. And then everything else, all the other CGI is just crap.
Well, and they made Gollum look younger, but also recognizable.
Yeah. They did a really great job with that scene. And it's just so odd to think that like, looking back on this story, that's the part that like everyone I think is most interested in
is the riddle game.
It's what puts everything into motion for the big story. But it's like such a subplot of a subplot in this book that it's a 5-minute scene. It's crazy. Anyway.
No, but he devotes a lot of time to it in the book compared to everything else. Like
it is a full chapter, yeah.
It takes up as much time as the Battle of Five Armies.
Yes.
Which was an entire movie. Anyway, this has been an episode of Bacon and Eggs. Bacon and Eggs, a production of the WNEB.
Bacon and Eggs is a proud production.
I got this. This has been an episode of Bacon and Eggs, a movie lovers podcast. New episodes every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts now on Spotify.
And Audible.
Bacon and Eggs is a proud production of the WB&E Podcast Network. For more great podcasts like this, and that's what I'm talking about, go to WBNE.org or search WB&E wherever you get your podcasts. Our art is by Vaishon Brandon, graphite.vmb on Instagram. Our music is by Andrew Scott Bell, AndrewScottBellMusic.com. Our guest host today is Mary Clay Watt of That's What I'm Talking About. That's What I'm Talking About podcast. On behalf of Tyler Carlin and Mary Clay Watt, I'm Ethan Edgehill, and until next time, arrivederci.
An unexpected journey.